CHP on the 101, also on, I think that's Aliso. So on Saturday, that's where we were right there. On that little spot, kind of just in this general area, kind of like center of frame. That's where I was standing when I was filming the freeway when people started getting into it. So when we were heading down here, when I was heading down here, traffic was basically stopped, so I had to hop out and get on the streets. And I think before I got here, there were protesters on the freeway. They are all cleared out now. You look center of frame right there, it looks like there's a group of protesters over there. So, I'm not sure if they're already kettled in and they can't move, but that's what's going on. Looks like they got everyone off the freeway, now they're there. You can see right here, some units are going down, probably back to their cars, not sure. On foot. Here's how we're looking here. And lastly, I heard lots of people were getting arrested who were on the freeway. Some people were streaming on the freeway, and they got arrested. I did hear that from a few people. So obviously we're not going to be going on the freeway. We haven't done that once since we started streaming these events. I already know better than to go on the freeway. Here's how we're looking on the street. It's media out here. Bunch of people in the middle of the street. The next place we're gonna go is to, we're gonna try and get on the other side of this street, on the other side of this block. You know what's funny, or not really funny, but since I've been coming out here, I haven't seen the National Guard actually up close once. We haven't had an opportunity to, because they're on this street. And every time we've come here, the street's already been blocked off. And today's no different. So that's how we're looking. That's update from here. CHP is blocking the off-ramp, but pretty calm. We haven't heard anything since we got here. So that's update, chat. Next, we're gonna spin around to, I don't know where. What's up, man? Yeah, for sure. You got it, bro. You guys be safe. Yeah, sure. Okay, you got it's all good.
I saw you on Friday.
I'm gonna turn the camera around. Chat, we got some fans. Oh yeah, come here. Cool guy. Nice to meet you, bro. Yep. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, John.
You got it, bro. Thank you, man.
You got one? Be safe out there.
Hey, you too, brother.
Thanks.
You got it. You guys be safe. All right, cool. Hey, be safe, man. All right, chat, we're moving. It's a backpack and the gloves, chat. I don't know what to say. Can't go anywhere. Oh, it's my gut. Gaming Gabs 91 with the 5 pounds. Hi from Ireland, seeing what's going on here at home. Everyone's kicking off. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I didn't think today would be crazy, but I guess we're in for something. Looks like a lot of roads are blocked off, so we're gonna have to go on a little bit of a journey. So let's hit the road. We're gonna try and keep the roaming to a minimum so we can conserve battery.
You know, Apple Store got
Bro, I think that's a car. That's somebody's car, and it sounds awful. Here's how the middle of the street looks. Riders on an electric dirt bike. What's up, bro? Hey, yeah. I think in order to get around, I'm probably gonna have to go all the way around, huh?
Where you trying to go to?
The other side.
I was there.
On was that first? First in Alameda or Temple in Alameda? Yeah, you gotta go all the way around now, huh? Yeah.
What is that, bro?
Same thing, it's called an E-Ride.
It looks like the Huron.
Yeah, same thing basically. Just a little more powerful. That's actually more.
Bro?
Yeah. Yo, Mike Burnett, thank you, bro.
tomorrow morning, guys. They're might be a curve or anything.
It sure is. Hey, be safe, homie. I'll see you around.
There's a couple of ads online.
Hey, chat. We low-key had a fan meetup right in front of the sheriffs, and I think some of the sheriffs knew what's up too. Bro, I think one of the sheriffs wanted to low-key ask for a picture, but knew it was not gonna happen. Like it was not the right time. Looks like we can actually go this way.
Where are we going after this?
Yeah, we can go down this road.
I'm gonna try to make my way over to City Hall.
I see, bro, it's funny. You can always tell
Yeah.
when you're,
Scan sent me a Craigslist.
you know, when you're a creator, you know when someone is a viewer of yours. You just can tell. The way they are, like, they have the stare.
They're looking for
And I mean, it's a sheriff, so they have a stare that's like a "What are you doing?" stare. But when I look them in their eyes, they get like like their eyes widen a little bit. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you watch, bro. You know what's going on. You see the green gloves." Yeah. You know what's funny? I totally acknowledge this. I'm sure that like there's probably a decent chunk of the police force that watches some of my old stuff when I was riding through real grimy areas, just because it's like maybe it's places they don't want to go themselves, or who knows. So of course they know. Some officers would come up to me and be like, "Yo, I just dig your content." So, hey man, regardless of opinions, when a fan is a fan, I appreciate them. I don't care what they do, who they are, skin color, ethnicity, gender, background. I don't care. If you watch my content and I get you through the day, then I appreciate you. That's all it boils down to for me. I don't care who you are. So we're gonna get this shot right here. Street is closed. This is where we were gonna try and go. Streets are closed. Tyron Rochelle with the £1. Thank you, bro. OHM my mod with the $1.99. Thank you. Thanks, guys. OHM my mod $1.99. Knees to the breeze. True. Jay Bird. Thank you, bro. Okay, so we can't go this way. We're gonna wrap around through Little Tokyo. See how it's looking on that side. Traffic is blocked off in a lot of different streets today. It seems like they've completely given up on trying to care about keeping traffic flowing, and today they're just full on blocking traffic.
I'm gonna get through here. Sorry about that.
I see a helicopter hovering over here. That makes me think there's people over there. But it could also just be like, I don't know, over there, you know? Let's try and get our shot first when we came over here to see. Chad, I'm babying this throttle, man. I do not want to lose this battery today. It's gonna have to last us for, it could be all night.
This is one of my guys that I follow named Novicity. I normally watch his stream, but is popping off in New York. So he's out in New York streaming. He's getting it in. So I pray for him because he always bring it. I watch him a lot. Now he's out in the street. He getting it. That's him. You see right there that I'm showing now. That's him in New York. So this is New York right now, starting a protest. And when I get a shot from Chicago, I'll put on Chicago. This Carrie from Carry Me Topics, y'all. I got a little microphone. I got a little setup. I'll be getting a camera soon. And when I get that camera, we gonna go live. But let's go back to the footage.
and keep going, if correctly, north from here would be 14th Street, Union Square. That's the usual time of protesting meetups and stuff like that, but for this one, it's also a spot, Washington Square Park, you can see right here. You see many, 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 many people. I'm talking about a lot. Guys, this crowd is thick. Thick, like, this is thick. Like, this goes by almost, let me see, towards 2 blocks. You see a lot of media coverage. You see enforcement here, parks enforcement, okay. Sorry for the shakiness, guys. I was running my ass off. So you got, I noticed something. You got LAPD. Y'all got me saying LAPD in my head. NYPD on the south here of Washington. No, this is the north side of Washington Square Park. And then you got enforcements. I noticed that they're in the corner of each. Enforcement is on this side, this side. Now all these people, you see them leaving? They're gonna head to 14. That's usually the meetup, scheduled protests, et cetera, what have you.
Here we go.
Guys. There's nobody.
Keep going.
Your brother, excuse me. This flag. Now they're all. This goes all the way. You got law enforcement all the way down there. Hold on, chat. Let me ban somebody real quick. Let me ban somebody. I don't like this shit. This motherfucker spamming, bro. I'm gonna put you on timeout, man. All right, so they are dispersing in the back here and some here, only a very little bit, but this big crowd, I mean, this goes all the way over there and over there. This crowd is gonna head all the way to Union Square. I am so shocked on how, like, I'm happy that this is peaceful. This is very peaceful. This is crazy. I'm gonna keep you guys updated. I'm gonna have something picked up from Chicago all the way to Los Angeles. Oh my gosh, guys, do I have some good news? I think I figured out a way for me to be boots on the ground on the field while showing you other media from Chicago to Los Angeles. I think I figured out a way on how to do that. If this works, yo, I'm gonna give you coverage like no one has never seen before. I am so happy about that. I figured it out when I was on a train coming over here. So give me a few. Now here, this is what I want to show you. This is what always happens. So they disperse, right? You got people leaving. They're gonna go to 14th Street, and then you have the rest of the group here. You see they're coming over here. Yo, I am so, yo, this is crazy. This is peaceful. I'm like, guys, I'm actually happy about this, man. It's a Tuesday, so. It's a Tuesday, chat. I'm gonna show you, I want to come out here so I can show you the crowd real quick. I'm gonna move back. This crowd goes all the way to those two buildings back there. Is it gonna get crazy when it's dark? I have no idea. I have no idea. This behavior, this is weird, this is strange, but I'm happy. Strange is good right now. If this, stops people from fighting, stabbing, and shooting. But again, you can see, watch, they're gonna head to 14th. How many people? A lot. Like, it's different in person than in camera. It's way different, way different. Oh, some of the crowd left this way. Okay, so you got crowds here, leaving this way, that way, and going west here. This is near, this is going towards Morton. So people are dispersing. People are dispersing in all four corners of Washington Square Park. Heading south, north, that's 14th. Okay, hold on, guys. I got to get some information about. I got to get some information about Chicago and everything else. Okay, so things are heating up in Los Angeles. How long am I going to be out here for? I told people, I said, listen, I'm just going to be out here for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be out here for.
We're gonna go to Los Angeles. We got some stuff going on. We're gonna come back to my main man here, but we got some stuff going on for Los Angeles. Let me see if I can switch it over. Look like the police are pushing back the protesters. Let's listen and see what's going on.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Where are they heading to?
Situations.
They're going to. See, you heard that, right? I told you they're going to the to the plaza.
Where, that other group was in that intersection. I believe that's going to be. Let's see. Is that Maine? Yeah, that might be Maine or Los Angeles where they're at. Right now moving. So it is still that pretty, decent sized group that is moving through there, which is, how kind of things, started yesterday when they all kind of started merging together here along the 101 freeway. But yesterday, the officers had the 101 blocked. They didn't let them get into the Chinatown area. And now we're right back in front of the Federal Building, which is where we were yesterday as well.
Don't see as much activity at the Federal Building. Certainly see law enforcement there, and a smaller, well, it looks, maybe it's growing a bit, but obviously we don't see anybody throwing rocks at this time, thank goodness.
And real quick, Pat, just on the left side of your screen, I want you to see that somebody is getting arrested there, and looks like not very willingly.
Yeah, a lot of resistance.
Yeah. I can't tell, that looks like that's CHP officers, I believe, and it looks like they're going to shackle the feet too and have to pick them up and carry them out of there. This would be the first type of arrest like this that we've seen. Everybody else that's been arrested has been pretty cooperative with the officers. It was kind of the civil disobedience type situation where they knew that they were going to be arrested, and that was a decision that they made to prove their point or protest their frustrations with what is going on.
Okay, well, Mike, we do have on the phone with us now Sergeant Daniel Keene from CHP. Sergeant Keene, are you with us?
Hi, Pat.
Hi, sir. Well, it looks like you have a lot going on there. You've made quite a few arrests. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, we have. We have additional resources deployed, as you could tell, and we quickly responded to the area. As you're probably watching, we have our special response team taking another in custody. They're specially trained officers, so the carry that they're doing to get this individual out, like you've been saying, they've been cooperative mostly, but when we get them into custody, uncooperative by going on the freeway, and that's where we're at. We are taking action.
And when you say this is a special response team and they're trained for this kind of thing, what sets them apart? How are they trained differently to prepare for this type of civil unrest or, in some cases, vandalism or violence?
These officers receive extra training in civil disturbance. They train quarterly. In addition to that, they do additional trainings at their areas, respond out to help other agencies with training, and then annually they recertify in techniques.
Would you say, Sergeant Keene, that for the most part things have gone relatively smoother today? I know it sounds like you said you have more officers out there today. Would you say that this is going a bit better than it has been over the last few days?
We do have more resources in the area, so that does help us. And we do have plans in place, so it does make it go a lot smoother. And we are monitoring the crowd. We're going to continue to monitor the crowd and take the appropriate action necessary when we need to.
Do you feel like you have the resources necessary to handle this situation at the local and state level?
Yeah, at the state level, we do have resources from the California Highway Patrol from throughout the state that are down here assisting with it. We have a contingency of officers, and as you could tell, when the freeway was taken over, we responded swiftly, professionally, took action, and got the roadway clear and effected arrests. Protesting on the freeway is not going to be tolerated.
And Sergeant Keene, it looks like you haven't met with a lot of resistance. We are focused, though, however, on this one individual to the left of our screen that seems to be having trouble even standing up and being taken into custody. You mentioned you have resources throughout the state. That also includes Northern California. Have you called upon some of your officers from that far to come down here and assist?
We have called upon specialized units. Our mounted patrol is actually out there on horseback, so they will be there. So other units are coming. But in addition, we have resources still throughout the state that are available if we need a call on, or if another situation arises, they can respond to.
And we've seen CHP officers kind of spread around the downtown area over the past days. How are you delegating? I know there are up to 14 agencies working together and assisting with assisting the LAPD. How do you delegate who goes where? For example, where your CHP officers are, because it doesn't look very organized.
We definitely have a command structure in place. It's our typical incident command system that we implement in large-scale events like this. So that is how we're able to do it. We track every officer, where they're at, where they need to be, what time they've been there, and get them relief when they need it.
I want to hear more about the mounted unit, Sergeant Keene. The other day, unfortunately, we saw horses under duress when people were throwing, smoke bombs and fireworks, and that really spooked some of the horses. And anytime we're talking about animals, then I'm sure a lot of people do. They get much more concern, actually. So tell us about the mounted unit that you have, sir.
So our mounted unit officers, they do get specialized training. Those are their horses that they take care of, train on every day. They're assigned to the Capitol, so they are with them, riding them, and they do civil disturbance training. They expose them to large explosions, things like that, to make sure that they can handle.
I got a feed from Chicago too. They're marching downtown Chicago. Finish this interview.
There has to be a safety element for all. And with the officers coming down here to assist, they will be working with LAPD. This is part of the mutual aid of how it went. And so they will be deployed with them, and you will see them.
Well, that's extra special. All right, Sergeant Keene, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we wish you all the best out there.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
All right, we want to go now to Tom Waite, who is on the ground for us. And Tom, you were out there last night too. It looks like you're moving along with this crowd we've been seeing walking through downtown LA.
Yeah, we are just walking up past the LAPD, I believe, headquarters right now, right to City Hall. We're right past City Hall right now. This.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this is some kind of synchronized protest. Like at a certain time, everybody decided to walk downtown, but it's happening in LA, Chicago, and New York. Even my guy in New York said they're gonna head down to another area. So we're gonna watch this. We're gonna keep y'all going.
He doesn't have a mask on. He's just spraying the wall. Unbelievable.
Well, we have his picture.
You know, just there you go. So yeah, we are just walking up right now and right on Temple and Spring, and again, very peaceful protest. People just chanting.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Oh, I can see super chats.
After all those arrests, possibly, maybe that sort of rattled some folks, and so you have everybody just kind of moving up the street here. Here we go up Temple through this intersection here. The Hall of Justice is right to our right. That's where the Sheriff's Department, LA County Sheriff's Department, is based. And then we have another federal courthouse, I believe. Actually, this is I think it's California Superior Courthouse to my left. And yeah, we're just proceeding forward. And besides, you know, a little handful of people that are vandalizing buildings, everybody else seems very peaceful, very much in the moment of kind of, you know, making their voices heard. And doing what, you know, we're supposed to be able to do as Americans, right? Expressing that First Amendment right. And
once again, we're watching
let's
Chicago.
just hope it stays this way, because right now I think people are feeling calm. There doesn't seem to be that volatility that we felt in other situations. We haven't seen at this particular moment any kind of confrontations between police. They appear to be allowing this to go forward. We're just moving forward right now, and there's been no resistance by the police to folks being able to march and protest. A number of different flags here. I see a bunch of American flags, some Mexican flags, people in a pickup truck. But everyone, you know, there seems to be some solidarity and unity here in the crowd in a way that seems more, much more. Less tense, let's say, much less tense and more camaraderie here in
what's been a very busy afternoon.
We will also continue to work our sources and gather information on that vehicle that we saw come dangerously close to people during the protest tonight to further confirm that there have been no injuries after that red vehicle that we last saw speeding through the south side was coming through the crowd and not hurting any of these demonstrators when that happened back at State and Monroe.
Well, we're fortunate no one was hurt. As that witness said, you know, it's really, it's lucky that no one was hurt or killed in that situation. But we will certainly keep an eye on the situation downtown. If something happens that we need to pass along, we will jump back on the stream here, or we'll cut into CBS News Chicago, and we will absolutely have the latest coming up tonight on our news at 10.
Say here, so I'm just wondering, is that
keeping
the
you
case
safer
people
sooner?
just,
CBS
you know,
2.
they're walking, and if they make a turn, then so be it. But it's not necessarily that they're going to end up in a particular place where they can all rally together.
You know, I'll say this, Pat. I don't know where they're headed, but I will say it seems more organized than it did before in other times that I've covered this, and it seems more the focus is on marching and protesting. The other times that I've been, you know, I work at night, so I see a different side of this than you would see during the day. You know, at night, things turn very different, right? You have different people showing up, agitators, things like that. This feels like a march and a protest, very peaceful, non-confrontational. I don't know that there's really a lot of organization to it, but everybody's sort of just following this column of people right there through the street, and we're passing the county supervisor's building. That's where they meet there. And you see the folks there. Yeah, just very it kind of reminds me, we keep talking about the George Floyd protests, but this reminds me a little bit of that in the sense that it's just very much a crowd of people kind of sharing the same beliefs and kind of, chanting, cheering, or just walking and talking to each other. It's not the same vibe that we had in the past few nights where you have people who came from out of Los Angeles, came up here and started creating trouble for law enforcement. I mean, I witnessed that myself, and I talked to people who said they came up from places like Orange County. So, which of course is totally fine if you come here to peacefully protest, but a lot of these people were attacking officers, throwing things, inciting, kind of creating maybe really ratcheting up the tension. So here we are. We're stopping right at Gloria Molina Plaza here. This is where they have like the 4th of July celebrations and a number of other events. And so everyone's kind of gathering here. We'll see. I mean, maybe someone will speak. Maybe there is some sort of organization. All this sort of just came together as we were walking from the freeway area, from the 101. And so, yeah, it's kind of, your guess is as good as mine where this ends up.
It does look like, just from above, from my estimation, my own estimation, it looks like the crowd has grown a little bit. You noticing that?
Yeah, it feels like a very large crowd. Yeah, it feels like a large crowd of people. It definitely, like, when we drove in today, for the afternoon, there were not many people in any of the areas where the protests had happened before. It was very much concentrated by the freeway. And now you have everybody, on the move, obviously. So a very different scene as we pulled in. All the streets were open that had been closed. There was, traffic was flowing, a very different vibe. And, right now, different vibe in the sense people are waving, smiling. It's definitely a feeling of a march and a protest. And I don't know if LAPD, you might have a better perspective on this than us. I don't know that LAPD is shutting down these streets and kind of guiding this. I can't really tell. Or if it's just sort of happening organically. Obviously you can hear a lot of the other drivers coming by, honking with support, and just kind of giving I guess people here, a thumbs up. This is what they're supporting this, and there's very much a sense of camaraderie, like I said before. So that kind of gives you a good sense, I think. Now how far does this go? I don't know. We're what street are we on? I lost track of which road. I'm gonna look at my Google Maps here. We are on North Hill Street. Now proceeding, looks like maybe toward, it's in the distance, but like LA Live would be if we just kept going and going. Which one? Or LAPD, but I was saying LA Live is, down, but that's quite a distance from where, but that's sort of the trajectory right now. We'll see where that ends up. I would imagine LAPD probably now is maybe, trying to find ways to direct the crowd and focus it so it stays, because I think that this is an easier way to manage, obviously, like an unplanned march. This was not something, I don't think, that was permitted. I'm going to go out on a limb here. And so now it's probably up to like LAPD to manage the traffic and keep people in a space that disrupts potentially as little as possible. But just, again, I want to stress just how peaceful and calm the crowd is, and just kind of marching through, and I think just trying to make a statement here. Obviously, it's been a really tough few days in Los Angeles, so go ahead. Sorry, Pat.
No, I was going to say we've noticed that. We've listened to you, and we haven't heard any yelling, screaming, or anyone really moving fast. They seem like they're walking with the purpose in mind, as you talked about some protests of the past, where that's what they're doing, to bring attention to why they are marching. But we don't see I would say the emotion that we've seen over the last few days, the ramped up emotion.
And you see some people on the outskirts of this line here where there's the opposing lane of traffic, and they're trying to keep the crowd in. They're trying to kind of organize among themselves and not let it spill out onto the other opposing lanes of traffic. So it looks like they are taking into consideration, for the most part, other people, with the exception of the person who was vandalizing that building that Tom saw.
You know what, guys? It would be interesting if they put some undercover police out there, so that way they could certainly, if they come across people tagging or what have you, that would catch them by surprise.
I'm sure they're there, even if just in a observing capacity, to be able to come back and deal with some of these people later.
Maybe they take a picture with the iPhone and they don't even know they're getting a picture taken. I mean, it just would make sense.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. We're having a discussion here.
They've got our live pictures, right? So
yes.
They've got our live pictures of a few of those guys doing that. So one of them pretty brazen there, right? Not even wearing a mask and tagging that building. You have to hope that these people are held accountable. They're trashing our city, and that's not okay. Obviously, it's totally fine to do this. This is what we should be doing, right? And allowing people to march and express their opinions and emotions, but putting tagging a building and creating, it fuels a vibe that we don't want, right? We want to see our city trashed, and it's demoralizing for people to see it. And also I know we've been talking about this. It's so important to note. A lot of this stuff has been happening in very concentrated corners of the city. By the City Hall area, which is near the detention center, and then obviously last night we had issues in Little Tokyo. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to play down. There was violence, and there definitely were people attacking law enforcement, throwing things at them, shooting fireworks at them. But to say that like our city is burning, or that I saw some influencers posting today that Little Tokyo was destroyed and these things, it's not destroyed. There's damage, yes. There's vandalism. It's unacceptable. But let's be honest about what we're talking about here, and not make it sound like Los Angeles is in some sort of like riot state. I mean, Pat, you were talking to Mayor Bass last night, and in your conversation with her, both of you were talking about how this is nowhere, doesn't even register in the same tier as, say, the riots in LA in the 1990s. This is completely different.
That's very, very true, Tom. And it's good to see that people actually were in Little Tokyo volunteering to clean up some of the vandalism there. We want to bring Mike back into the conversation. I was listening to Tom saying that for the most part, this is where the protests have taken place. We've heard about, Santa Ana in terms of the raids taking place. I'm wondering, can you confirm, you mentioned Ventura County. I heard they were actually out, some of the ICE agents were in Camarillo going after some of the field workers there. Can you confirm that?
Right, we had seen some social media reports of that. The FBI confirmed that they did do an immigration enforcement action in Ventura. The FBI would not get more specific as to exactly where they conducted that operation, and I can actually read you the tweet from the FBI if you just give me 2 seconds, and I'll tell you exactly what they say. Partner agencies conducted immigration enforcement operations in the Ventura County area today. The picture that they tweeted, you see somebody that is in custody there by FBI and it looks like Department of Homeland Security in an area that could potentially look like a field. There is some, like I mentioned, video out there which would indicate, kind of the same thing there. So yes, the operation, there was an operation in Oxnard today, or in Ventura County rather. There was also one of our colleagues has video from a family member of another operation happening in Paramount this afternoon at a Home Depot. So these operations are still continuing. I will say they don't seem to be as visible as the ones that we saw Friday and Saturday. I don't know if that's intentional, if they're just trying to, kind of get in, do their thing and get out, but they are still continuing.
Well, from what I understand, what I heard is this operation happened at like 6 in the
Right,
morning,
Chad.
and
I'm gonna step away from it for a second. I gotta make a quick
so
run, but
many
I'm gonna leave the chat
strawberry
running.
fields and produce in the Camarillo,
leave the chat
Oxnard
running.
area. A lot of huge farms.
One of y'all can hit his microphone, but I'm gonna leave the chat running.
As to who is being picked up.
Right. We'll get, kind of these bulk statements from ICE that's, like, as I mentioned, have listed a number of crimes.
When I come back, we're gonna
it's
hit
hard for us to verify all of those. They don't always give us all of the details that we're asking for in those situations. The other issue with us, as journalists, is running into exactly which agency we should reach out to, because whatever agency is conducting the operation, is the one that we've got to deal with. So it's either Border Patrol, and it all sounds like it's the same group, but it's not. There's different agencies for us to kind of deal with and reach out to. We don't always hear back, or they refer us out somewhere else. So there are kind of difficulties in figuring out some of these operations, and certainly names is not something they usually give us. Although I will say some of the federal agencies have started to tweet photos and pictures of people that they are arresting in some of these situations. So we're trying to vet out some of that information that is coming from them, obviously before we show it to you on TV or provide some of that information to you.
And the unpredictability of it all, right? We don't know when they're going to go, how many people they're going to take, which agency it's going to be, where they're going to take the people they detain, what time they're going to go. So it's a lot of questions, just as journalists, as you said, that we're trying to figure out too. And a lot of family members are trying to figure out kind of what's happening and whether people should go to work, whether, family members want to go to graduations that are happening right now. There are so many questions happening in terms of these ICE raids. I think yesterday there was a statement that came out from Washington, D.C., right, from the Trump administration saying that there have been 5 ICE raids.
Yes, I think the mayor pointed that out too, that yesterday there were 5, yeah. And today, I mean, we know on our own that there were at least 2. We don't know if there were additional ones other than that. So it's kind of hard to tell because they are able to, I don't want to say cherry pick, but they're able to give the information they want to give and not give the information they don't want to give. And that makes it hard to get a clear picture.
Well, but that's true. That also gives an idea that it doesn't matter. I mean, a Home Depot parking lot in Paramount or in a city, in Santa Ana as compared to a field in Camarillo,
right.
In an orchard, that's very, very different.
Right.
And if that's the case, that certainly gives an idea as to, what they're doing or who they're going after. And I haven't heard anything about the Central Valley, but it makes you wonder.
And it also raises questions about, are these federal troops being deployed in preparation for something else? Aside from just perhaps civil unrest and protests and arrests in the street in downtown LA, is there something bigger to come? I think last night when we heard from Mayor Bash, she said it could be the next 90 days. She doesn't really know. So there are so many plans that need to be made at the state and local level to prepare for all of this, and not really knowing what's coming in terms of even just the law enforcement, in terms of police presence.
Right, and last night we spent a lot of time trying to figure out where these Marines were coming into, and ultimately we finally found them today. They're actually down in Seal Beach in Los Alamitos, and it looks like we've got Mayor Bass and Chief Jim McDonnell walking up to the podium here to provide an update on exactly what's been going on.
Is everybody in place? Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to let the city know that I have declared a local emergency and issued a curfew for downtown Los Angeles to stop the vandalism, to stop the looting. Many businesses have now been affected by or vandalized. Last night, there were 23 businesses that were looted. And I think that if you drive through downtown LA, the graffiti is everywhere and has caused significant damages to businesses and a number of properties. So my message to you, if you do not live or work in downtown LA, avoid the area. Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break the curfew, and you will be prosecuted. Officers, police, and sheriff from across the region are working alongside LA through a unified command structure. The curfew will be in place tonight from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. I want to thank the governor for his partnership and especially thank our state and local and deputies, officers, and who are working tirelessly. So curfew guidance, again, it will begin at 8 p.m. tonight and go until 6 a.m. tomorrow. I will consult with elected leaders and law enforcement officials tomorrow on the continuation of the. We certainly expect for it to last for several days. The curfew area will be between the 5 freeway and to the 110 and the 10 freeway to where the 110 freeway and 5 freeway merge. You map and you can see that the city of Los Angeles is a massive area, 502 square miles. The area of downtown where the curfew will take place is 1 square mile. I think it is important to point this out, not to minimize the vandalism and violence that has taken place there. It has been significant, but it is extremely important to know that what is happening in this 1 square mile is not affecting the city. Some of the imagery of the protests and the violence gives the appearance as though this is a citywide crisis, and it is not. So everyone must abide by this curfew. Limited exceptions will apply for residents, people traveling to and from work, and credentialed media representatives. With that, I would like to turn it over to Chief Jim McDonnell.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. Good afternoon, everyone. As the mayor stated, a curfew for the impacted area as shown here will go into effect tonight. And I want to be absolutely clear that if you're within that designated curfew zone between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. And are not exempt under the order, you're going to be subject to arrest. The curfew boundaries are as follows: from the 5 freeway to the 110 freeway, and from the 10 freeway to the point where the 110 and the 5 merge. Easier to look at it on that map for description. The curfew is necessary, a necessary measure to protect lives and safeguard property following several consecutive days of growing unrest throughout the city. Since Saturday, we've seen a concerning escalation in unlawful and dangerous behavior. On Saturday, LAPD officers made 27 arrests. On Sunday, that number rose to 40. By Monday, arrests totaled 114, and today alone, we've made 197 arrests. The recent days, it's been as a part of a unified command with our partner agencies who've responded through mutual aid compact and been very, very helpful to us, and we're very thankful for that participation. Of those I mentioned for today, 130 were arrested near Commercial and Alameda. An additional 67 were taken into custody after unlawfully occupying the 101 freeway near Commercial Street. Our CHP partners were instrumental in that. So again, let me be clear that this behavior, blocking freeways, city streets, and on-ramps, refusing to comply with lawful dispersal orders, and interfering with public safety operations is dangerous, unlawful, and won't be tolerated. If you are in the curfew zone during the restricted hours without that legal exemption, you will be arrested. If you assault an officer in any fashion, you will be arrested. We're operating under a unified command with our partners at the Los Angeles City Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the California Highway Patrol. Coordinated, and our shared mission is clear: to restore peace and ensure the safety of everyone in our city. We previously mobilized part of our department at LAPD while keeping our ability to be able to provide the services that our community deserves going. We're going to be adding to that deployment with additional internal LAPD resources in the days ahead. The curfew does not apply to residents within the designated area, individuals experiencing homelessness, credentialed media, or public safety and emergency personnel. To be clear again, that's not about silencing voices or suppressing lawful protest. When that expression crosses into unlawful conduct, when lives are put at risk, and when our city's safety is compromised, we must act, and we will act. We urge all Angelenos to cooperate with these public safety measures. Our shared goal is to protect our communities and return to a state of calm and safety for everyone. Thank you.
Let me introduce now the councilwoman who represents the majority of the district, Councilwoman Isabel Harato.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here today not just as a council member who represents downtown LA, but as its advocate who deeply loves and believes in this community. The history of Los Angeles began right here in downtown, where 200 years later, the grouping of historic neighborhoods remains the beating heart of our city, a place with rich culture and deep community. Downtown LA is a place where workers clock in before sunrise and small business owners know their customers by name, where neighbors greet each other on the sidewalk, and where generations of families have built lives, shared stories, made memories together side by side. It's one of the most vibrant and resilient and hopeful parts of our city. But too often, downtown LA is treated like a backdrop for major events, not the living, breathing community it is. And right now, it's hurting. I am deeply proud that downtown has always been the place where Angelenos from all over the city gather to peacefully protest. I support the right to demonstrate, and the mayor and I know that right is sacred, and at times it's necessary, but we must also face what's happening right now. When these peaceful rallies end and the protesters head home, another element moves in: opportunists who come in under the cover of a peaceful protest to ravage and destroy. They are ruining local small businesses, smashing storefronts, and threatening the safety of the very community that has always welcomed people from across the city and globe. This isn't just broken glass or stolen goods, it's someone's livelihood, someone's safe space, someone's home that's been violated. And it's happening in a neighborhood where working class families are just trying to live. Our street vendors, our garment workers, many of whom are immigrants, continue to watch their communities be torn apart. And that's why I'm thankful the mayor for leveraging this tool, enacting a curfew to begin tonight. This has been something that many of my constituents in downtown have been calling for what they're facing. This curfew is not about silencing protests. It's about protecting people and ensuring that the local residents, small businesses, our families, our elders, and our workers are not left vulnerable to those who come only to destroy. What happens in downtown reverberates all throughout LA, and when we protect downtown, we protect our city. And we're investing in its future, and we invest in our shared future. So to my colleagues and to our residents and everyone watching, downtown LA is not just a center for the First Amendment expression, it's a community. It's a home, and the people in it deserve our protection and care. That path ahead may be uncertain, but our responsibility to protect and uplift this neighborhood is not. I want to close this message from my constituents so that you hear them loud and clear. Downtown LA is home. Please keep it safe. Keep each other safe. Thank you, Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. I'd now like to introduce Nella McCosker, who is the CEO of the Central City Association. We were having conversations this morning about a couple of things. One, the ongoing problem with violence, but also the need, when all of this subsides, is to repair and restore downtown Los Angeles, especially the businesses and properties that have been hit with graffiti. Nella McCosker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Council Member. The swift action today to take a look at and examine how this curfew could be put in place is a good example of the leadership we see and continue to need for downtown. CCA, or Central City Association, represents businesses, institutions, nonprofits, the fabric of downtown Los Angeles that also represents the wider city. And it is the case that downtown is a neighborhood. It is the case that downtown is where immigrant-owned businesses try to operate and thrive. And so we can differentiate between downtown being a place to gather, to have your voice be heard, to peacefully protest, and the actions that we've seen each evening since this occurred in the last few days. So thank you for applying this tool. There are others certainly that we could look at as well, but hopefully Angelenos rally together in support of this really important section of our city because of the symbol and of the benefits it provides to everyone across Los Angeles. Thank you.
I'd like to open up for questions, but before I acknowledge Dr. Earl Suthers, who is the president.
We'd like to welcome our viewers to KCAL News at 6, and we are in the middle of a press conference given by Mayor Karen Bass.
The problem is that we don't know how long these raids are going to go on. If they're going to go on for 30 days, that's what the rumor is. And if we want to see our city peaceful again, I will call upon the administration one more time to end the raids. With that, let's open it up for questions.
I have a question for Mayor Bass what changed today that made you think that the curfew was now necessary? Last night was definitely not the first night where graffiti and vandalism and some violence were happening in the city. So why did you decide now that it was time for the curfew? And for Councilmember Verotto, after you called certain elements opportunists, ravaging and destroying the community, one of your staffers was arrested downtown, and now there's a curfew in your district. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that and how you're feeling about the situation with one of your staffers.
Let me just say that a curfew has been in consideration for several days, but clearly after the violence that took place last night, 23 businesses looted, and just the extensive, widespread nature of the vandalism, we reached a tipping point and declared a state of emergency and called for the curfew. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I'm aware of what's happened to my staff member. They're on unpaid leave right now. I hold my staff to the highest standards while I wait to see due process, and so we'll see the outcome of that. But I see that as separate and apart from a reaction to what our constituents want in the city and how this type of opportunism has escalated between yesterday and the day before. And, you know, frankly, I admit my humility here and my beginnerness in that I'm new to downtown, but our downtown stakeholders have seen this multiple times over and had to basically develop their own strategies. And they saw the warning signs of how this could get worse. And they knew from past experiences that curfews have been ways in order to stem this and to calm the city once again. And it's but one tool that we can execute at this time.
Mayor Bass, I know that you were referencing that there have been 23 businesses that have now been damaged, broken into, looted. Looking at videos of the Apple Store and Adidas. Any sort of estimate of the cost of damage at this point with all this vandalism? And also, what is the latest on the Marines arriving here? And has there been anything else about what their mission will be?
So there is not a financial estimate right now unless Nella has one.
In the case of,
do you want to?
It's millions. In the case of some of the larger, retail stores, it's in the millions. But I don't know of the 23 what the total is.
And I think it's really hard to estimate the vandalism from the graffiti. It's just widespread. I know that you have seen it.
And as far as the Marines arriving?
Oh, I'm sorry. You did ask that question. Who knows? I mean, I don't know if you know, Chief. I mean, the bottom line is that we're not told. Basically, we have to operate on rumors. So rumor has it that there's 700 Marines that are going to come here. I have no idea what they would do when they would get here. Right now, we have 100 National Guard whose sole mission is to protect the federal building downtown. That's 100. There's another 100 in Westwood protecting the federal building there, and I haven't heard of any protests that had anything to do with ICE taking place at the Westwood federal building, unless you have, Chief. Right. So we just don't know. And I think that's a problem with the administration, because to come in such a massive way and to make the announcements that all of this was going to happen and then not communicate it with the local jurisdiction as to when, what, how, why is really problematic.
Mayor,
8 p.m. tonight. 6 a.m.
Last time we had a curfew like that was under Mayor Bradley. I think it was 3 days. Are you taking this day by day at this point? That's one question. Then as a second one, when do you plan on reaching out to Donald Trump, President Trump? You said you want to talk with him, that you will reach out.
Actually, I started that reach out today, so we will see what happens. I will keep you posted.
Can you update us on the parameters of the curfew area? Just want to make sure people heard that.
Yes, and it's the map that is right there. So it basically is all of downtown Los Angeles. But, you know, in LA, we identify by our freeways. So all of the freeway numbers are there, 110, the 5, the 10.
This is the area where the protests have been focused.
Yes, and actually that's a broader area that the protests have been focused. You know that the protests have been limited to about 5 streets in downtown Los Angeles. And again, that's why it's so important to let the people know this is not all of Los Angeles. If you put downtown Los Angeles in the context of the overall city map, you see how big it is. 1 square mile compared to 503 square miles.
Mayor, in terms of what the federal authorities are doing, I know you're saying they're not telling you when they're going to be doing these various rates. Are you getting anywhere in terms of cooperation of notifying your police agencies in advance so they can make some plans to deploy, if necessary, to some of the local communities?
No, we're not. No, we're not. And we also don't know again about the ICE raids. And that's why I think, I would appeal to the president to stop the ICE raids so that we can have stability in our city. I think about the families who are afraid to go to work and go to school. I was talking to a friend today who, in her local grocery store, the shelves were empty. A lot of the shelves were empty because people aren't coming to work to stock the shelves. We have to look at the contributions that the immigrant population makes to our local economy. And you know that there are some industries that are the majority are immigrant labor. And so when you frighten immigrants and they don't want to come to work, you are hitting at the heart of our local economy. The nannies that can't show up, the gardeners that can't show up. That impacts households in a way that I don't think people often realize the extent. And so I think I missed the first part of it. He said the reason why the wildfires were handled was because there were federal police?
He said it would look similar to how it did during the wildfires here and the aftermath if they didn't have the federal law enforcement here.
Yeah, I don't know, Chief. Maybe you want to respond to that. I don't think that question, and sometimes what the president says, it's difficult to kind of understand. What I will tell you, though, is that after the wildfires, were out, the president made sure we had ample resources with the Army Corps of Engineers, and it was a significant contributing factor to us having the fastest recovery of any location in comparison to where other wildfires have taken place. It contributed to the fact that in the Palisades now, we have over 2,700 lots that are cleared where people can be rebuilding now. I was at a property a couple of weeks ago where the frame of the house is already up. This, to me, is drastically different. That was in complete cooperation and coordination with the federal government. Right now, we are in the dark. We don't know when things are going to happen. One thing we're sure about, and I think the chief would agree with me, is that we have the capacity to address this situation here, and we don't need armies or National Guard, especially that we didn't even ask for. And the idea that the president took the power away from the governor to do this it was really just unacceptable. But Chief, did you want to, if you want to?
Thank you. To that issue, we have a protocol in place that we use, and when we are dealing with something like this where it takes resources away from our regular patrol duties and ability to provide the service we do, we mobilize the department, and so that brings in people from vacation and our days off and allows us to use them. We've mobilized the Office of Operations, the biggest part of the department, and our motor officers. We're looking to expand that with additional officers from within. We requested through the Sheriff mutual aid, which then is coordinated by the Office of Emergency Management in the state, Emergency Services, with the sheriff, and they bring in then surrounding communities and in this case counties to be able to help supplement our resources to deal with the issues at hand. They are tremendous partners. We've worked very closely together for the past couple of days now, and I think we have seen a significant improvement in things, and we will continue to watch for that as we move forward. We're hopeful with this curfew that'll give us additional tool as well to be able to bring this chapter to a close. Yeah, and the I guess the sequence would be, as I mentioned, we request mutual aid, partner agencies from throughout, in this case, the 7-county area, The next step then, if we weren't able to handle the issue, is to request through the sheriff to the governor and the emergency OES at the state National Guard to be deployed. We are nowhere near that in this environment. We believe we can do what we need to do with the resources that we now have access to, and I think we've seen a dramatic increase in arrests over the last couple of days. I believe that will continue, and that will help bring some order to what we've seen in the past few days. So, no.
Hey, Chief, what does it mean? I'm seeing where the Emergency Operations Center we're at level 2 activation. What does that mean to the people of LA to know we're at level 2?
Yeah, anybody want to? Yeah, go ahead. Probably more specifically, Chief Choi.
Chief Chow, that's okay. Blake Chow from Office of Special Operations. So just like our Department of Operations Center across the hall, when we get into a emergency that needs to be managed, the EOC can be pushed up to a level 2, and that means all the other city departments that work for the mayor come in and have a rep here, and we're able to coordinate city response to anything that's going on within the city. That's what level 2 is.
Let me also just add to your question that you were asking. You know, now that the president has taken over authority of the National Guard, Chief, when you were describing the way it should go, now that has been disrupted. And I think that that's important. I know one of the things that the chief said that we're going to focus on is trying to gather as many local resources as possible. And that includes Los Angeles police officers and trying to bolster the officers that will be stationed downtown, because downtown is where the crisis is right now. Yes, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, you've been listening to a press conference by Mayor Karen Bass and Police Chief Jim McDonnell, as well as other representatives from the city of Los Angeles. And the breaking news here is that there is a curfew. She has declared a local emergency. There is a curfew going into effect tonight at 8 p.m., lasting until 6 a.m. The curfew will last for 1 square mile of the downtown area, 5 freeway to the 110, the 10 freeway to where the 110 and the 5 freeway merge. And from what we've heard from the mayor, she is imposing this curfew because 23 businesses have been looted so far, and she says graffiti is everywhere. If you don't live or work in the area, you should avoid it. Mike Rogers, question to you.
Yeah.
How are people going to find out about this, the people that are already there? Do we know of specific businesses, restaurants in that 1 square mile area that she's talking about? Because if so, that's going to impact them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, a couple of things. I mean, we'll likely see them do the wireless emergency alerts. We know that on Sunday night they use those to tell the crowd to disperse. So that will likely go out to that geographical area if it hasn't already. It probably will soon. I'm sure they'll use that method. Law enforcement in the area will start notifying people that are there that in, hey, about an hour and 45 minutes, a curfew goes into effect. Certainly, Pat, there are restaurants and businesses. I want to ask Mike Parrott if we can show my computer here. Excuse me. This is the area that we are talking about. So it is a very, very, very large section of downtown LA that we are talking about. Dodger Stadium, for reference, is right there. So you're looking at all of the freeways that come down here. And the reason it is such a large area is because, you know, Sunday night it was in Chinatown. Most of the this week it has been kind of along the 101 freeway here from the, you know, City Hall, the Federal Building, all of that. We also saw it down here at LA Live. So it really has popped up. They were in the Arts District last night as well. So when you see why they are doing it in such a large geographical area, well, if you hear the mayor, she actually refers to it as a small geographical area, but it is a large portion. It is all of downtown LA, and then up, as you mentioned, Pat, to the 5 and the 110 split right there where it comes together. So they're incorporating a big section of downtown LA for this area. Businesses certainly will be impacted. Now, it'll be used as a tool to basically, you know, we saw this during some of the fires as well in the, you know, the evacuation zone areas. It basically will be used as a tool. LAPD will no longer have to issue dispersal orders, will no longer have to issue unlawful assemblies. After 8 o'clock, if you're there and you have no business there, game over, you can be arrested.
You're getting arrested.
You can be arrested. And it's the people that have legitimate purposes there are, you know, people that she said that live in the area, credentialed journalists. Certainly if you're going to and from work, you'll do that. Remember, we saw this during 2020. They issued curfews citywide during 2020. Remember here, we actually carried letters with us that said we were okay to, move about the city throughout the course of this. So they will be targeting people that are up to no good. And the people that live in downtown and work in downtown certainly will be allowed to come and go, but they shouldn't be just kind of roaming the streets like we are seeing this group now. So about an hour and 45 minutes that's supposed to go in place.
Okay. Well, wondering if they have more buses downtown. I'm just wondering because some people may want to be arrested, as we saw earlier today. And that is certainly going to happen at 8 o'clock.
And I did hear from a source with a law enforcement source tonight that tells me this is the first day that they've had dedicated booking teams, dedicated arrest and booking teams for this incident.
And from what we heard, she said this is probably going to last 30 days.
Yeah, as long as it takes to make sure that this doesn't, continue on. It's a local state of emergency within the downtown area. We do expect a press conference from Governor Gavin Newsom coming up at 6:30. So we will hear what additional information he says. His team telling us it's a major announcement. So we'll be unclear exactly what that major announcement is. But we are expecting Governor Gavin Newsom to speak in about 10 or 15 minutes here, Pat.
Okay, Mike. Well, let's go back to our Jeff Nguyen, who is in downtown Los Angeles. Jeff, I'm sure you heard us talking, and you are aware that a curfew is going to take effect in less than 2 hours from now, 8 p.m. tonight until 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's very understandable because last night here in Little Tokyo, the streets echoed with fireworks and some of the community's cultural landmarks were targeted and vandalized.
To tag this building is like spitting in the face of everything.
Susan Jacaro says she has so many reasons to be angry.
I understand people are angry. I totally get it, but people need to channel that anger.
She and this group of people took part in the demonstrations against the ICE operations in LA, but they condemned the violence and vandalism against landmarks like the Japanese American National Museum in Little Tokyo. Gina Hong Thompson lives at the Tokyo Towers. She had to rely on her dog for comfort as fireworks echoed around the affordable housing complex for older adults.
I feel like it's some war. I've never been war.
The images of disturbances scared her children who live locally and out of state.
What were your children saying to you?
Mom, don't go outside.
That's because coverage showed this burning car outside the church attended by a number of people who live at the Tokyo Towers. At the Little Tokyo Service Center, staffers pleaded with people Monday night to not vandalize the complex that also provides affordable housing.
A lot of the work that we're doing is just letting people know that Little Tokyo is a home to people, and that's like kind of what's most important for people to know.
Back at the museum, fencing went up Tuesday.
What's the significance of this courtyard?
This courtyard is holy ground for the Japanese American community.
The chair of the Board of Trustees says the museum has championed civil rights. One of its missions, educating people about how this part of LA was tied to the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Where thousands of Japanese Americans were taken, forced on the buses.
LTSC had planned on unveiling a new affordable housing apartment complex tomorrow, but that grand opening has been postponed because of all of the recent disturbances. We're reporting live in Little Tokyo. Jeff Nguyen, KCAL News.
All right, Jeff. Well, glad to see people pitching in and trying to clean up some of that graffiti. And where are you again exactly? Because you look kind of lonely out there now.
Yeah, so we are right on the outskirt of Little Tokyo. So basically near Los Angeles and first, for those of us who grew up in Southern California, that Chase building was the old Sumitomo Bank building, and then you got the Miyako Hotel. On the flip side of the Miyako Hotel is that big mural of Shohei Ohtani, and then right across the street is exactly where the museum is, Pat.
All right, Jeff. Well, I imagine there's going to be a lot more activity in the next couple of hours or so, or after, trying to get people out of there. Thanks so much, Jeff. We're going to go to our colleague, Lori Perez. Now, she is attending an interfaith service, and then this is happening in downtown Los Angeles at Grant Park. And Lori, they're holding a response to the ICE raids that have happened, right?
That's right, Pat. And, a much different response, perhaps, than the one that we have been seeing play out on the streets of downtown Los Angeles over the last couple of days, particularly night. This is a group of a few hundred people who have gathered here in Gloria Molina Park. They say to create a space of peace and prayer, in their words, to practice and promote non-violence. They would argue, I believe, that they are equally as passionate about calling for an end to the violence of immigration raids that they have seen and calling for bipartisan immigration reform, but they want to do it in a non-violent way. And so, you know, in the last 20 minutes since this ceremony began, this service began, they have been singing songs, and different members of different faith groups from throughout Los Angeles have been leading this group in prayer. At one point, they asked people to hold up, they had asked people to bring symbols of their loved ones who have been detained or who are at risk of being detained. They asked them to hold up pictures or perhaps pieces of clothing or food that they had harvested as symbols of those people. They did that, and then they prayed over those items in honor of those people. They say they are standing with those, in their words, who are seen as disposable. This is a growing crowd, I will say. This started at 6 o'clock, and since we've been here, more and more people are arriving here at the park, trying to spread a message, equally passionate, again, about their opposition to what is happening with the immigration raids, but trying to do so in a different way, in a less aggressive way than perhaps that we have seen on the streets. Pat, back to you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Now, many protesters have been in downtown LA since the ICE raids began. At first, they say it was because they wanted to show solidarity with people being deported, but now they say it's because of the presence of the National Guard and Marines.
The presence of the National Guard really galvanized me. And then I'm back here today because of sending the Marines in, because I see this as an unlawful invasion of California sovereignty. And I believe the administration is putting these poor guys in a horrible position too, probably to take actions against their own community that they wish they didn't have to do.
A federal judge has denied California's request for an emergency order to block the Trump administration from using the state's National Guard for immigration enforcement. But the judge set a hearing for Thursday afternoon so both sides can present their arguments. Lawyers for the state want to prevent troops from accompanying federal agents on immigration raids. But in the lawsuit, the attorney said they are not seeking to block the National Guard from protecting federal buildings. The lawsuit comes a day after California Governor Gavin Newsom sued President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Pentagon says the deployment of the National Guard and Marines will cost the city $134 million. President Trump says the National Guard will stay in the LA area until there is no danger. Now, SkyCal over Los Alamitos Joint Forces training base this afternoon, and this appears to be the staging area for the military deployed to the LA area by President Trump. You can see several military vehicles and tents sprawled across the fields. And over at Seal Beach Naval Weapons Station, SkyCal picked up military troops doing some kind of training on the baseball field. We asked what kind of training and were referred to U.S. Northern Command Public Affairs. Meantime, Governor Newsom claims the 2,000 additional National Guard troops being deployed will impact the state's wildfire prevention and fentanyl task force efforts.
These are the National Guard men and women that have been out there protecting you here in Southern California during the fires, after the fires. We are now taking many of them off assignments on forest management, protecting communities, vulnerable communities, against summer and wildfire season. We're removing them from task forces that we've created to deal with fentanyl interdiction. I have 394 National Guard men and women down at the border. I imagine they may even be pulled for this theatrical display of toughness by a president of the United States who's unhinged and has now crossed a red line in this country.
Governor Newsom has been meeting with local and state officials to see how they can keep